concluded, Giuseppe Alessandrello will read the reviewing of these credentials. Mr. Director of Debate, members of the National Assembly, I will read the act of the review of the credentials in this palace, seat of the National Assembly of Venezuela, on January 5th, 2026, at 12 p.m. in this inauguration session for the period 2026-2031, once designated the Director of Debate, Fernando Soto Rojas, the Secretary, Carolina Garcia, and also in presence of elected deputies of the National Assembly, the Director of Debate designed and elected a commission integrated by the following: Giuseppe Alejandrin, America Perez, John Alvarado, Carlos Alvarado, Nora Bracho, for the reviewing of the credentials as established in the Article 5 within the rules of the National Assembly of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Once this procedure is completed, the Special Commission has informed that the credentials are conforming to the rules of all the elected members except for one, that is Celia Flores. In this act will be formally presented by the members. Mr. Members of the National Assembly, continue the procedure. According to the Special Commission to review these special credentials, we inform that we have an according quorum. We are opening the session. We will inform the goal of the day for this session. Purpose: inauguration of the legislative period 2026-2031 and the annual period for ordinary sessions 2026-2027. For today, 1. Election and swearing in for the members of the 2026-2031 members of the Parliament for the National Republic of Venezuela, according to the Article 194 of the Constitution and in consistency with the Articles 7, 8, 9, and 11 of the Rules of Debate. Citizens and Secretary, let's read the Article 194 of the Constitution of Venezuela and the articles of the Rules of Debate related to the election of the Board of the National Assembly. Constitution of Venezuela, Article 194. The Assembly will elect a president and 2 vice presidents, a secretary, and a subsecretary outside of its seat for a period of 1 year. The rules will apply also for the absences, temporary absences. Rules for the debate. Election for the board. At the beginning of the constitutional period and every ordinary period, the National Assembly will elect from the board, that will be elected by the members of the National Assembly, who has been proposed and obtained the greater part of the votes will be elected. Article 8 for the proposing and election. the plenary of the National Assembly, out of all the charges that will be elected, for the proposing, the national deputy will propose the arguments for the proposal and will also have 3 other minutes to ratify the proposals that will be submitted for voting. The voting will be on each one of the charges, and the deputy member will be elected with the highest number of votes. If there should be a tie, the same procedure will be respected, and only those who have tied on the first place will proceed to that process. If not, it will proceed to a new procedure in the coming 48 hours. Rules are clear and categorical. We open the process of proposal for the directive board, and for that, I give my word to lawmaker Nicolás Maduro Guerra. Deputies and members of the National Assembly, Director of Debate, the opposition as well. I am so happy that you are here because our country needs dialogue and understanding. Our fellow lawmakers, brothers, today we are with a great absence, an important absence. And the people of Venezuela that I greet and I hug from here, I tell you that we are committed to defend the dignity of Venezuela. I greet the millions who are on the streets right now and in the world as well, and who have mobilized for our country, for the President Nicolás Maduro, for Deputy Member Cilia Flores. Today I speak, and I wrote this because it is not easy to do this in these circumstances. My dad, the President Nicolás Maduro Moros, and my second mom, Deputy Member Cilia Flores, have been kidnapped. With both of them, I grew up with the love of a home that was profoundly Bolivarian, and that has joined us, my brothers and sisters, my sons and daughters. I was forged in that revolutionary struggle for the building of that dream for Bolivar and Chavez, and that has always been the dream of my dad, Nicolás Maduro. Nicolás Maduro Moros is president, but he is also a father, a worker, an educator from whom I learned to fight. He's a loving grandfather. He's a great comrade and a friend of friends. Cilia Flores, a great woman, mother, dedicated and abnegated mother to her sons and daughters and grandsons, a great lawyer that never lost a case in all the years of exercise, a great lawmaker, and a great grandmother. For knowing them deeply, I know that they are great human beings, and their only crime is being great revolutionaries that love the country and will not sell it out and will not sell themselves out. From them, I learned serenity, the serenity that we see in the president, and the peace that we get from having a great hope that truth will prevail. And because of that, I have great faith as believers in our great God. The true man who owns that destiny of Venezuela is God. And sooner rather than later, they will be with us. And thanks to the people who are mobilizing, they will come back. Our eyes will see that. We will witness that historical moment. Do not doubt that that will happen in the name of God. Almighty God, we ask that of him, and he will deliver. Amen. President Nicolás Maduro, it's not a circumstantial leader. He is part of a historic generation that was forged in the struggle for the independence. He was formed by Hugo Chavez in the ethics of responsibility, the awareness of sacrifice, and the certainty that the homeland is always above any personal gain. That is why even in the face of the greatest aggression, we know and we see that he will maintain firm, serene, and according to the great historical challenge that he's living. He knows his role in history, and he showed us the sign, the victorious sign that we need to conquer. They don't kidnap a man. They are challenging and provoking a complete generation. And if they are Monroe, we are Simón Bolívar.
El derecho internacional
The international law
ha sido ultrajado.
has been violated.
Es despreciado y fue violado en todos sus sentidos.
It has been violated in all its sense. International law does not protect charges or symbols. It protects human beings.
No deja de ser padre, abuelo y ciudadano.
A president does not
Quienes hoy
continue to be a grandfather, a father, also with its charge, and who are charging against that are charging basic principles of humanity that the world swore to protect after the great tragedies of last century. The international law did not come around in order to protect the powerful, but to contain it. It's a conquest of a civilization in order to prevent that the law of the jungle will rule over the world. So we are not in the face of one more political conflict, but a dangerous regression for the world order. That is why, with great responsibility, we say that Venezuela is not fighting for its own land or its own resources, but for the well-being and the existence of humanity itself. International law exists in order to put a restraint to empires, and if that is violated, we'll go back to the law of the jungle, and no country is safe. Today, it's Venezuela, but tomorrow it could be any other nation that is not willing to bow down to foreign powers. This is not a regional problem. This is a threat to humanity and international stability. Today, the world, its peoples, its governments, we need to make a decision. We need to raise our voices for peace, for respect for international law, for sovereignty, for our right to exist, or to be silenced through fear. Peoples of the world, international solidarity with Nicolás, with Cilia, with Venezuela is not an optional political decision. It's your right in terms of politics and jurisdiction. Your silence is an accomplice with that aggression against the international law that you say you defend. Ambassadors from the world, this is not an bilateral tensions, but this is a great violation of the entire international system. In Venezuela, the outrage of our people is not desperation, it's historical conscience, and we need to transform that outrage into mobilization and political clarity so that that outrage will become invincible. To defend Venezuela today is to defend the right to every people in the world to exist. I take this place to say that my name has been put, just as the President and Celia Flores, in the same accusations for which they were kidnapped. My family is being persecuted because they cannot buy us. My family is made up of men and women with righteous values, and we are here to defend Venezuela on any circumstances and to maintain peace in the country, to join our people always in anything that we need to do in order for Venezuela to be in peace, powerful, so that the Venezuelan family can move on. That is our job, that is our sin. We know that with the legal and physical aggression, they will try to work with a narrative, and they always have worked with lies, fabricating wrongful narratives that harm the free peoples. Venezuela is naive. We know of those practices. We are not surprised by that. Venezuelan people are not surprised by lies. We get ahead of them and we know how to conquer them. My fellow lawmakers, lies have always been the arms of imperialism, but now they found a people that are aware, that have been formed by Chavez and Maduro with a great historical and political awareness. The Venezuelan people cannot be manipulated. There's too much awareness, too much organization, too much clarity of what's at stake right now. And those who fight deserve the victory. The political awareness is neutralizing the imperialist propaganda. The Bolivarian Revolution is not dependent on a moment, but it's a solid process that has been inherited by Chavez and by Maduro, with a leadership that perfectly knows the role they need to play in each circumstance. Our purpose is clear: to maintain permanent mobilization of the people in defense of the Bolivarian project that today is being led legitimately by the institutions of the country. This is not a mobilization of hate, but of conviction, not desperation, but historical clarity. Today, I come here with our Bolivarian cause to speak to you from our heart about the Venezuela's deepest desire to continue on the road of peace and peaceful coexistence, to guarantee a right to development with no external threats and with balanced and respectful international relations. We do not ask anything else, that they will leave us alone for our republican institutions to continue to develop so that our economy can grow and our people can be happy. We deserve peace. In that collective dream, the world needs to recognize that the National Assembly is an instrument of the Venezuelan people that have served and will continue to serve to national peace and cooperation among countries. This sovereign institution, we use it to continue to live without threats and move on in international cooperation to live in peace. This international context is marking this election that we see today. We need to move on in the international relations with respect with other countries based on the principles of non-interference and respect between nations that can lead us, as President Nicolás Maduro Moros has said, and our acting president has reinstated in this, that we need to continue with respectful relations with every country in the world, in the region, with the United States as well. like equals, without submissions and without interference. We are not asking for any privileges, but we are demanding respect. This is a sovereign decision. We want international relations with everyone, with no threats, based on respect. I think that the election of the National Assembly of today needs to ratify that road that Venezuela is choosing with all the peoples of the world, and the board that we are choosing today is a message for the world of our internal will to guarantee the road of respect, the unity of Venezuelans in the face of the threats and attempts to hinder the economical growth for this 25 years. For this reason, and taking on this responsibility of speaking on behalf of the revolutionary forces that are here in these seats, I will propose the following names for the elected seats. For the presidency of the National Assembly, I want to propose an important colleague with a large tradition in the medical sphere, a great fighter and a father dedicated to their sons and daughters, a great leader that has accompanied the lawmakers' duty and the dialogue of international duties, and a man that is greatly loyal to the Bolivarian Revolution. With the description I present, who's my uncle at heart, our colleague Jorge Rodriguez, as the President of National Assembly.
For
the first vice presidency of the National Assembly, I want to call on a colleague and brother that has formed on one of the duties that makes us proud in international forums. Thanks to his study in the sports arena, we now have more medals than we ever had in the Fourth Republic. It's a good father, a great neighbor, a good leader with great hearing abilities. From Katia, I want to propose that we ratify Pedro Infante for the first vice presidency of the National Assembly. In the second vice presidency, I want to acknowledge the academic and discursive goals and achievements of a young woman that I've known for years that have shown great commitment in the youth movement across the country, with a great social base that is good for the inclusion of many currents. Every time she has faced a challenge, she has shown her commitment and his efforts. A woman for the second vice presidency, our comrade Grecia Colmenares. From Táchira. In the name of all the lawmakers, I thank you for all your efforts, for America Perez as well, for her duties. I know that she will continue to do everything as well. As always, my colleagues, 2026 has begun with the great challenge of strengthening our sovereignty and our capacity to defend our right to future, to bring back our leaders who have been kidnapped, prisoners of war, and guarantee the peace for the whole people. Let's fight with intelligence and audacity to achieve the liberation of President Nicolás Maduro and lawmaker Cilia Flores. Just as Cilia and my dad taught me, I am a militant willing to serve in the defense of the goods of our peoples and the Bolivarian revolution of Venezuela. I am convinced that with unity and more unity, we will be victorious. Maybe they kidnapped Nicolás and Cilia, but they didn't kidnap the conscience of a people that has decided to be free. To see my unconditional support for the hard duty that you need to do right now. So you have my full support for the duty that you have, the great responsibility that you have, and we are firm in great unity to achieve the objectives of peace in Venezuela, to move on with our economic development, and for Nicolás and Cilia to come back. To the people of Venezuela, thank you. Thank you. We love you. We love you so much. Peace, democracy, sovereignty, dignity, unity, struggle, and victory. And to you, my dad, I tell you, you did of all of us, of our family, great and strong people. We are here. We are here with our duties until you come back. The homeland is in good hands, and we will hug each other again here in Venezuela. And you will see the kids, Cilia. You will see them again. Long live Venezuela. Long live the homeland. We are here for anything that we need to do for our homeland. We love you. Thank you very much.
Well, we listened to this address of Deputy Nicolás Maduro, who proposed for the presidency of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, and also proposed for the vice president, the first vice president and second vice presidency of the National Assembly, demanding a clear message of support and the return of President Nicolás Maduro and Cilia Flores. Let's continue to listen to the statements.
The year 2019 and 2020, difficult years, with political confrontation of the hardest ones in the streets of the country. We had and we were confronting maybe one of the most destructive pandemics that the humanity has ever faced. How to bring together the political conflict with a pandemic that was destroying the lives of human beings. In that scene, in that context, we had an important element that marked the life of this country and the continent and the world. At that moment, the current president of the United States, Donald Trump, was in office. We had a siege against this country. In a permanent manner, they were approving against Venezuela sanctions that were affecting the national life. In 2020, they threatened us with missiles to end the life of this country. He pretended that we had a different vision of what every Venezuelan wanted to do for the moment. He wanted to do with Venezuela what he did with Honduras. But Venezuela of that moment, we rejected that policy. We went to an election, a parliamentary elections, December 6th of that year, 2020, that had as one of its main objectives to end the duality of power that we had at that moment. That duality that was imposed by the international community and never knew how to come out of that. We gave them that outing door. We told the government of Mr. Trump that the road of this country were the elections. And that consideration at that moment was very important, because it allowed for us to tell the world that it was impossible, that a people that was willing to elect its parliament, it couldn't be militarily attacked as Mr. Trump pretended at that moment. When 2020 concluded, we elected a National Assembly that gave institutionality to the country, that defeated that duality of power. But through these 5 years, that National Assembly that ended its period yesterday had the permanent threat of that administration, of both administrations. And finally, Mr. Trump comes back to power, and he finds us, that National Assembly that he wanted to destroy, he finds us active. And we had reinstitutionalized the country without a doubt. That is a recent history, a history that is alive, that we have lived through it. Through those 5 years, we had all these debates. We were clear. We were aware of who Donald Trump was. We knew that he came to end with the international law and the international order based in norms, but we never imagined that he could violate his own constitution, that he could establish basically a dictatorship in the country that seems to be the democratic model for the world. But he did that. We saw that and we alerted this. And right now, he finally manages to come inside our country, because that's a reality. And with the hard reality for our people, that was capable of kidnapping the president of this country and his wife, that we reject and condemn this fraction of the Democratic Alliance. It's unacceptable, and it'll be in the hands of this Parliament from now on that we inaugurate to build with efforts and dedication once again the great road of our sovereignty. It is true. We have many struggles ahead in this terrain. And I say this to the government, to the majority of the seats: you cannot continue in solitary, thinking that you can do that struggle on your own. No. In the last legislature, we were capable of giving a political answer to the offensive of the United States, and that was to create the National Council for Sovereignty and Peace. You have a political answer right there, and it's right there that we need to build a serious unity, calling on all sectors, heading towards a great national pact that allows us for a 15-20-year-old plan to give the country with stability for a definite way, so that we do not fall in confrontation that weakens the institutionality of this country. They see us as weak. As we are inaugurating this parliament today, we are being strengthened for a constitutional effort that we've in charge with the acting president, Delcy Rodriguez. But she needs the strength of this parliament so that the government that is transition now as the Constitution mandates has the enough strength to face the international aggression, the permanent aggression of Mr. Trump. This parliament that is being inaugurated today needs to help in that road, but I call on the majority that you cannot do this alone. Here is the shoulder of the Democratic Alliance to aid in that direction. So we propose 3 candidacies in that road that we want to use to build in this road, that you know, an extraordinary doctor for the presidency of the Parliament, Rubén Lima, but with political strength, with political experience and a state vision to move through a difficult road that we are moving through. Also, we propose as first Vice President José Brito, who has been an important representative of the regions of the country and also has an important political vision and state vision for these difficult times. And as second Vice President, Deputy Alfonso Campo, who has an important experience that we know of in this parliament. As you see, 3 lawmakers, 3 leaders that come from the prior legislature and that know of this road, difficult and complex, but they never hesitated to strengthen and to make of this the great political element to strengthen the country. So it's not a single party power. So they have the responsibility that the country be more plural, the politics be more plural. So in that way, Comrade Soto Rojas leading this debate, that is our proposal from the Democratic Alliance. Thank you. We give the word to Stalin Gonzalez. Good day. Thank you. Our colleagues, lawmakers, certainly it's a difficult day for the nation. I think that the country is still worried about what is happening. Also, as this moment is difficult, it's important what is being said and what we are saying. We have the opinion of our blog, and I have it in writing, so I will read it. Citizens, colleagues, lawmakers, the vote of this fraction is an act of loyalty for a nation that cannot wait anymore, and not an act of confrontation. We cannot join these proposals because in the last 5 years you have not legislated for Venezuelans. We are here to do this differently. We have the voice of millions who have been silenced, and those who needed to leave. And I want for my brothers and sisters outside to know that their suffering being heard. We want to give light and voice to the problems of the country and not validate inertia. We cannot remain divided or polarized. Our differences need to find a common road, such as those who saved the Republic in the past did it and were able to found understanding measures. we have a clear north.
La construcción y el fortalecimiento de la
The construction
institucionalidad
and
de nuestro Estado.
strengthening of the institutionality of our state. We reaffirm that the struggle for our Venezuela allows us to remain here for all democratic practices. Our road is the order that comes from here. Popular sovereignty, the guarantee to fundamental rights, and the defense of the interests of the nation. We will not be accomplices of an institutionality that is just of a shade. We believe in the law, in the votes, and the re-encounter of all Venezuelans. That is why we demand this stopping of the persecutions and the liberations of all political prisoners. In this road of reconstruction, we want the road to impose an amnesty. Democracy is only necessary and possible if we continue forward in this road with no consequences. We have the possibility of building this as an important tool for citizenship. It's urgent to give the country answers. We need this parliament to give the answers to solve the problems. In this situation, let's be clear, time is not a non-renewable resource. We cannot give a blank check to any transitional process so that the well-being in this process is possible and sustainable. Consensus is not to be defeated. It's the struggle for the Commonwealth and the searching of common roads in order to guarantee democracy and unity among the peoples. We reiterate, politics is good if we're serving the people. We want to solve the crisis of Venezuelan homes. We want emergency economical measures to give back the value of work to our families and strengthen the productive sectors. Sovereignty is more than a flag. It is the capacity of our people to live in dignity through its own efforts, and also to guarantee that Venezuelans do not need to flee the country. We want to reaffirm our sovereign principles. Our love for the country sends us to search for all democratic ways of continuing the road. We want to represent that cry for change. We make of this space a way to defend that law, the democratic process. Thank you so much, and using the rules itself, we will submit our proposals in writing. We close the debate on this matter. I want to acknowledge that the National Assembly that was in order and in functions until yesterday, I think that it did a good job in the fundamental principles. But this new National Assembly, the debate will be extraordinary and interesting, because we need to clarify a lot of things. Until this moment, Accidental Secretary,
no he llegado aquí, tiene que llegar aquí.
Listening to the National Assembly as different sides of the presented their candidates for the presidency, the two vice presidency, as part of the ceremony of the installation of the Legislative Assembly, the legislation of 2026 to 2031. New 5 years to for the peace and stability of the Venezuelan people. Let's continue. Director of debate. There are two proposals on the table. The following for the presidency of the National Assembly. On the Homeland Bloc, Deputy Jorge Rodriguez. For the Democratic Opposition, Deputy Ruben Limas. This is all citizen director of debate. Let's proceed in accordance with the rulings, in accordance to the proposals read, and we begin by the last. Those that agree as for President of the National Assembly to elect Ruben Limas, raise your hand. A minority that is evident. Those in favor to approve as President of the National Assembly, Dr. Jorge Rodriguez, raise your hands. An evident and overwhelming majority approved. The deputies of the National Assembly are chanting that this is the truth that defends President Nicolás Maduro.
Plancha ha procedido a presentar los integrantes para cada una de las juntas directivas propuestas. Se ha votado en este
Right now we are in the process. People are electing, voting on the proposals that were made for different positions of the director of the National Assembly. We just saw by an overwhelming majority the deputies of the National Assembly elected Jorge Rodriguez as the president for the National Assembly for the next legislative year. For the first vice presidency of the National Assembly, for the Home Deputy Pedro Infantes, for the opposition, for the Democratic Opposition Bloc, Deputy Jose Brito. Following the same procedure, those in favor for first vice presidency of Jose Brito with the usual signal, an evident minority, to elect the second proposal to elect Deputy Infante with the corresponding sign, an overwhelming majority. It is approved. Now, deputies of the National Assembly are chanting, "Long live the homeland, long live President Maduro." So now we have seen that the deputies, lawmakers have already voted for the presidency and the first vice president, which what remains is the second vice president. The officials elected for the as president was Jorge Rodriguez, and for the first vice presidency, Pedro Infante.
Propuesta que se ha hecho el día de hoy destaca como presidente del Parlamento venezolano al doctor Jorge Rodríguez, primer vicepresidente Pedro Infante y segunda vicepresidenta.
For the second vice presidency of the National Assembly, for the Homeland Bloc, Deputy Grecia Colmenares. For the Democratic Opposition, Deputy Alfonso Campos. So let's proceed with the corresponding action. Those in favor of Alfonso Campos, raise your hands. An evident minority. For those in favor
para la segunda
for the second vice presidency,
vicepresidencia, Colmenares.
Deputy Grecia Colmenares.
Evidente mayoría aprobada.
Overwhelming majority, it is approved.
Seguimos llevándoles los detalles de cómo se desarrolla esta jornada de instalación del periodo legislativo 2026-2031 desde el hemiciclo protocolar del Palacio Federal Legislativo.
Well, we just saw the deputies of the National Assembly elect the directors boards for the next legislative year, and as part of the process of the installation of the next 5-year term of the legislative period for this National Assembly, which was elected, as we say, in year's legislative elections, as after the votings of the different members of the National Assembly. Dr. Jorge Rodriguez was re-elected as President of the National Assembly, while Pedro Infante was elected as first Vice President of the National Assembly, and Grecia Colmenares as the second Vice President of the National Assembly, which they will hold this position for the next legislative year. We must recall that according to the rules of the National Assembly of Venezuela, the deputies are elected for a 4-year term, but the Board of Directors is elected for a 1-year term, and that is renewed every year and is elected at the beginning of every opening of the year by the members of the National Assembly. Heirs of the anti-colonial causes of our liberators, liberators of America, and heirs of the cause of Bolivar and Commander Hugo Chavez. We greet with a lot of warmth the peoples of the world that are currently supporting Venezuela and ratify the solidarity of the peoples of the world in these moments, where we also greet with firmness and loyalty the legitimate president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros, a worthy son of Commander Hugo Chavez and Commander Simón Bolívar, first combatant deputy of this National Assembly, Celia Flores, a worthy heiress of the liberators of this land, a Venezuelan women that always accompany us, all Venezuelan women, the cause of for the defense of our people, of our territory, and of our sovereignty. I also want to greet my colleagues, deputies, that at this time, this moment of history, ratified our loyalty, absolute loyalty to our Constitution and to the peace of this republic. On a day like today, history of humanity will be completely changed, as it was on the early hours of February 4th of that year, which signified the transformation for the history and humanity. The early hours of January 3rd to 26th will change the course of humanity, because in the smile of Nicolás Maduro, in his hands is the message: the peoples of the world will triumph over the arrogance of those that aim to dominate these people, which defeated the last empire that dared to set foot on this soil. That's why Venezuelan youth that is part of this National Assembly celebrates that our people is on the streets defending the cause of this homeland, of our peace, of our sovereignty. Today, in fulfillment of our Constitution and in fulfillment of the rulings, the laws, on the debates, we must also congratulate the board that was just elected: Dr. Jorge Rodriguez, Deputy Pedro Infante, colleague Grecia Colmenares, and also this bloc of the homeland that make up the parties of the great patriotic Paul Simón Bolívar. We also ratify our embrace, our commitment and accompaniment to Dr. Delcy Rodriguez, who is acting president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. In accordance to what is established in our rules, in our rulings, we must postulate, several colleagues that have an impeccable track record in this parliament for the year 2026-2031. office of the Secretary and Deputy Secretary. For the Secretary, the Homeland Front proposes a young Caracas woman lawyer graduated from University of Santa Maria, Maria Alejandra Hernandez, who held for the last 2 years this important responsibility as Secretary of our National Assembly, and for the responsibility of the Deputy Secretary of this National Assembly, Jose Omar Molina, also graduated in political sciences from the Central University of Venezuela, who also held different offices within the National Assembly, and that in the last legislative period, both Maria Alejandra and Jose Omar were important for the construction of this parliament that rescued the Bolivarian Revolution and enacted important laws for our people that recovered the institutionality of this space that had been stolen by the far right, to whom we ratified today in front of their arrogance that an eagle doesn't hunt flies. And we know that in the way of acting of these two colleagues is also the way of acting of a Venezuelan youth that is always willing to defend in life and struggle the constitution of this homeland, our sovereignty, and President Nicolás Maduro. An embrace to the family of President Nicolás Maduro, an embrace to the family of the first combatant Celia Flores, and an embrace to the people to whom we are loyal, as well as President Nicolás Maduro is loyal to these people. Long live the homeland, and we ratify to the world that we will triumph. Where we listen to the address of another deputy of the Great Patriotic Poll proposing the secretary and subsecretary, which is the next office that is going to be elected in the board of directors of this National Assembly for 2026-2027 legislative year. This is a very difficult moment that we are living right now, and I would like to refer in first place to the pain, to the deep pain in the hearts of all Venezuelans for the people that passed away last January the 3rd. Those young men that were standing guard, those young men that safeguarded the President of the Republic.
Those are martyrs of the homeland. And they deserve our respect, our recognition. This is a topic that goes way beyond the deposition or the government. As a Venezuelan, I feel deeply sad for the effects of that night, for that terrible attack on a foreign power on the territory of Venezuela. That grief needs to unite us as nation, as a republic, as a parliament, as representatives of the people. This country cannot tolerate one more vengeance. Venezuelans are calling for unity. Unity in the face of foreign aggression. We can have our differences. We have had them in the National Assembly that ended last December. Those 5 years, we had very hard debates, but with a lot of respect and recognition of differences and plurality. I want for this new National Assembly that same respect for the opposition, for plurality, for the difference of ideas, in the way in which we learn to share and respect dissidencies. In that measure, we will be so much stronger as a nation in the face of foreign aggression. And I say to my friends in the government, you cannot do this alone in the face of what is happening. This is a challenge of all Venezuelans. And that is why we ratify the commitment of this democratic opposition towards international and to a national interest over any differences. We will denounce, as we have, anything that we need to denounce, but we will also join in the defense of the nation in all places, in all events, in any circumstances. I also need to say that this act has a great importance for the preservation of the institutionality of the Republic, because this act is part of the continuity that the Venezuelan state requires in order to continue to have its sovereignty and order in the country. This parliament, as the last one did, has the challenge of navigating through turbulent times. Never before we saw in this continent such a savage aggression, so brutal, against a Latin American country on the hands of the largest power of the world. That wound is deep. That wound is deep, and we will not forget. While this happens, we need to be pragmatic. Patriotic pragmatism, nationalist pragmatism, and it's key to understand that here we need to respect all freedoms. We need to liberate all prisoners, political prisoners. Those Venezuelans are victims of the same tragedy, and as we have done in the previous assembly, we raise our voices so that we liberate all political prisoners that continue to be jailed away from their families. That's our commitment to this country, and that's our commitment to those boys that with bravery gave their sacrifice of their life on the night of January 3rd, 48 hours away. The flag of Venezuela is showing this national mourning day for these young people that gave their lives in this the imperialist aggression in this parliament, and to honor that act of bravery, of commitment to the country. We need to think in the correct procedures that are corresponding, the support of the families of those victims. We cannot forget our heroes, and those people are heroes of the homeland, of the country. I am sorry for the emotion in my words, but they respond to an authentic sentiment of my Venezuelan team. That's why my call to cease sterile confrontation. Of course, we're going to have differences, but at this moment, we are at risk. Venezuela had never been as alone in the international context as we are right now. We cannot do the luxury of following vengeance and revenge. The country is observing us, and we need to show an example of unity and defense of the nation. I need to present and propose the candidates for the charges for them to be considered by this chamber. Thank you. Secretary, give us the proposals for the voting. Citizens, we have proposals on the table. The Homeland Bloc proposes for Secretary María Alejandra Hernández. For Subsecretary, José Omar Molina. Democratic Opposition, for Secretary, Dilmari Enriquez. And for Subsecretary, Mildred Fernandez. That is all.
Bien, en este momento desde el hemiciclo protocolar del
At this
Palacio
moment,
Federal Legislativo, ambas bancadas han presentado sus
Both benches of
propuestas.
Parliament presented the proposals for the Secretary and Deputy Secretary for the National Parliament. We are going to proceed now. The National Assembly will proceed for the voting of said proposals to elect the Secretary and Deputy Secretary. So far, they have already elected the President and the two Vice Presidencies.
Enrique, con la señal de costumbre.
Let's decide with the customary signal on the Secretary proposal, an evident minority. Those in favor, Citizen Maria Alejandra, for the Secretary for the Homeland Bloc. Approved by an overwhelming majority. So the National Assembly is voting on these new director boards for the National Assembly for this legislative year 2026-2027 and elected Maria as the first secretary of this National Assembly. So far, they have already voted the President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, the first Vice President, Pedro Infantes. We're proceeding now to vote the second, the Deputy Secretary of the National Assembly. The deputy lawmakers will now proceed to vote for the opposition bloc proposal. An evident minority for the opposition proposal. Those in favor for the Secretary for the Homeland Bloc, Jose Marcos, for Deputy Secretary. With a vast majority, it is approved. So with this vote, the National Assembly elected the directors' boards in all the different offices. Both secretaries, the president, and the two vice presidency have been officially elected by the National Assembly for this next legislative year, 2026-2027. We must recall that today is the opening of the legislative term, 2026-2031, the next 5-year term of all deputies here in the National Assembly. But the directors' boards, according to the rulings of the National Assembly of Venezuela, is elected for a year period, and that director board has been officially elected by the corresponding procedures and according to the time scheduled by the Constitution of the Republic of Venezuela. Now, as the inauguration of this National Assembly for the next 5-year terms, now the officers elected will be sworn in. According to Article 9, in accordance to the rulings, the director of the debate will swear in the position to the President of the National Assembly, and from there, the President will proceed to swear in the rest of the director board. All deputies present also be sworn in case of a constitutional moment. After, the President will declare install the National Assembly and will notify the people's power, the executive power, and the judicial power on it. This is all, Director of the debate. Then, let's proceed to the swearing in for President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez. So in accordance with the Article 9, we will proceed with swearing in ceremony.
Allow me a license to invite here to join me the son of our sister, our lawmaker, our brave Celia Flores, Yoser Gavidia Flores, and the son of our heart brother, the son of our leader, our hero, Nicolás Maduro Moros, our president. I invite Nicolás Ernesto Maduro Guerra.
El diputado Jorge Rodríguez Gómez ha llamado para este
Rodriguez has called on both sons, the sons of President Nicolás Maduro and first combatant Celia Flores, to be part of this swearing ceremony as he's about to be sworn in by the director of debate as the President of the National Assembly for the year 2026-2027. That's the legislative year that begins today at the National Assembly that is installed for the next 5 years. So this is all in accordance, of course, to the corresponding rulings of the National Assembly for the installation. And he will proceed now with swearing ceremony as we're seeing him doing his oath. Deputy Jorge Jesus Rodríguez Gómez, for the legislative period 2026-2027, in charge of the spokesperson of the People's Power, Astrid, for justice and peace, for businessmen, for workers of the oil industry, by the doctors, by the students, for the communes, for the indigenous peoples, for militia. Do you swear before the gods of our forefathers? Do you swear by your honor, by your homeland, before the glorious people of Venezuela, heir of the example of fight and struggle of our indigenous peoples, that have known how to resist and triumph over oppression of the empires of different times? A people heir of the legacy of the father of the homeland, Liberator Simón Bolívar, who led the destiny of 6 nations, freed by the exercise of his sword and strategies, tearing the veil that prevented us to see the light of freedom, to never return to the darkness of imperial aggression. Do you so swear by the luminous example of Hugo Chávez and Nicolás Maduro, who have given everything for the worthy liberty of the Venezuelan homeland, teaching us to never be a colony of a foreign power? Do you swear to give all your efforts to defend national sovereignty in all aspects, to protect our homeland in the face of foreign aggression and guarantee the freedom of our people, to fulfill and make fulfill the Constitution of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, its laws and rulings, to honor and defend the homeland, its symbols and cultural values, safeguard the integrity of our territory as guaranteed to the self-determination and defense of the interests of the nation, just as to exercise the duties and responsibilities that comes with your office as President of the National Assembly with honesty, loyalty, efficiency, efficacy, and love for the homeland. Do you so swear? I swear in the name of God Almighty. I swear for the Redeemer example of the Liberator of America, Simón Bolívar. I swear on my honor. I swear on our sacred history. I swear on my sons, Josiah, Juan Pedro, Matías, and Lucas. I swear on the homeland. I swear on the bravery and and the blood that has been shed of our soldiers
caídos
fallen
en los hechos abominables del pasado.
in the despicable acts that occurred last January 3rd.
Esa patria se merece.
I swear
Juro
on the
por la
life that our
paz
homeland deserves.
construiremos.
I swear on the peace that we will build together,
No daré reposo
that I would not rest
hasta
until
cumplida
see fulfill
propósitos
the
que se me asignan
purposes
como presidente.
assigned to me as President of the National Assembly.
Cumplir y hacer cumplir la
Will
Constitución de la
fulfill
República Bolivariana de Venezuela.
and respect the Constitution of Republic of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Will fulfill the laws of the Republic.
Ejercer
Will
la
exercise
función
the
controladora
office
que la Constitución asigna
that the Constitution
a la Asamblea Nacional de la República
grants to the National
Bolivariana.
Assembly of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Pero sobre todo,
But above all,
insistir en que este
it
recinto
will insist that this
sea
space
un espacio
is an area for dialogue, for fruitful dialogue,
para la confrontación de
a
ideas,
space for the confrontation of ideas, and mainly
un espacio
a space
para la unidad nacional
for national
que nos
unity
permita
that allows us
enfrentar
to face
vicisitudes, los obstáculos,
the challenges,
los enemigos
obstacles,
y las agresiones.
enemies, and aggression.
Tendrán en mí a un presidente
You'll have in me
de la
a
Asamblea
president for the National Assembly that will not fear dialogue,
pero que también exigirá
but that will also demand discipline and
por
respect
las opiniones de los otros.
for the others' opinions.
En
I
este
swear
momento
that this moment,
difícil de la patria,
this difficult moment for the
en
homeland,
este momento donde
that this
la
moment
población
where
se pregunta
people ask themselves
cuál va a ser nuestro destino,
what's going to be
qué
our
va a
destiny
hacer de
and
nuestros
what
líderes,
will happen to our leaders, we can say
tengamos confianza
we must have
que
trust
juntas
that
y
together
juntos siempre venceremos.
we will
Lo juro.
always triumph. I swear this.
Si así lo hiciere, que la patria y el pueblo de Venezuela lo
If you
reconozcan.
do so, may the homeland and the people recognize it.
Ellos lo demanden.
In the contrary,
Queda usted
may you
investido como
condemn for it.
presidente de la Asamblea Nacional de la
You have been
República
sworn in as the
Bolivariana de
President of the
Venezuela
National Assembly
para el
of the
periodo de
Bolivarian
sesiones
Republic of Venezuela for the
2026-2027,
term
con todas las
2026-2027
prerrogativas
with all the
constitucionales y
corresponding
legales.
constitutional prerogatives and legal prerogatives.
Hemos visto el acto de juramentación del doctor
Well, we
Jorge
just witnessed
Rodríguez
live the
como
swearing-in
presidente del
ceremony of
Parlamento
Jorge Rodriguez
venezolano
Gomez
para
as
este
President
nuevo
of the
periodo
National
legislativo
Assembly of the Bolivarian
2026-2027,
Republic of Venezuela for this
acompañado por los
year
representantes de
of
los diversos
year
sectores
legislative
de
period of
nuestro
1 year,
país que lo
2026-2027.
acompañan ante
We
este
saw
acto
we saw him
constitucional
being
el día
accompanied
de
by
hoy en el
different
hemiciclo
sectors of
protocolar
the
del
Venezuelan country
Palacio
in
Federal
part of
Legislativo.
this swearing-in ceremony.
Casa de las Leyes de
Now,
la
according to
República
the protocols
Bolivariana
of
de
the
Venezuela. Hemos visto
of
a lo
the
largo de
swearing
este
of the swearing-in
quinquenio
ceremonies
el
for the
compromiso
elected
del
the
doctor
different elected
Jorge
offices.
Rodríguez Gómez
We will
en
proceed
el
with the swearing-in
proceso
of the
de
vice presidencies
fortalecimiento
and
de las
secretaries.
leyes de la República
We saw in
Bolivariana de
his
Venezuela.
swearing-in ceremony Jorge Rodriguez his commitment to continue strengthening the sovereignty of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Una vez juramentado el presidente
So
del
once, as we were
Parlamento
saying, as the
venezolano asume
Venezuelan,
la función de
as the
esta
President of the
jornada
National Assembly
legislativa, luego que
has been
el
sworn in, he
diputado
will take
Socorro
over
asumiera
as
como
the
director de
leader of
debates
this
de la
session
Asamblea
of the
Nacional.
installation
Establece
of the
con
National
leyes
Assembly,
el
taking over
reglamento
from the Director of
de
Debates,
interior, debate
and
la
will then
Asamblea
proceed to
Nacional.
swearing in of the two vice presidents
La Asamblea
and the
Nacional,
secretaries of the
diputado
National
Pedro
Assembly.
Infante. Usted aguántese ahí unos minutos, ciudadana secretaria accidental.
Les detallamos el proceso legislativo que se da en este momento desde la Casa de las Leyes de nuestro país. Una vez ha sido juramentado el
So
presidente
now,
de la Asamblea Nacional,
the President of the National
empieza a
Assembly will
conducir
proceed
este acto
with
legislativo
swearing
juramentando
in
cada uno de
the
los
first Vice
integrantes
President and
de
second Vice
la
President that we
Junta
call was
Directiva
elected by a majority
aprobada por
vote
el
here within the
Parlamento
National
el día de hoy.
Assembly
En este
previously
momento
during
procede
this
el
day
diputado
of,
Jorge
of the
Rodríguez,
opening
presidente de la Asamblea
legislative
Nacional,
procedures.
juramentar
Now
al
we are
primer
seeing the President of the
vicepresidente.
National Assembly swearing in the first the first Vice President of the Assembly? Do you swear before God Almighty? Do you swear on the bloods of the liberators of America? Do you swear on the bones of our grandparents and fathers, of our first forefathers, of the full life bequeathed by the liberator founding fathers? Do you swear on your honor? Do you swear on life? Do you swear on peace? Do you swear on your sons, to whom we will build the future that they deserve? Do you swear to defend the Constitution of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, its laws and rulings? Do you swear to defend with your life if necessary the sacred territory of the Venezuelan homeland, its sacred sky, its sacred rivers and seas? Do you swear to reject any form of foreign intervention against our country and against our people? And above all, do you swear to defend with all strength given by providence, peace of the Republic, and the full life? Do you swear in the name of the humble people in all neighborhoods of our homeland, in the name of our indigenous peoples, of our Afro-descendant peoples, in the name of the humbles, in the name of our family, of our sons? We pledge to defend the sovereignty of this homeland, to defend the interests of this nation. We swear to give our greatest efforts, commitment, convictions, and our life if necessary to defend the sovereignty, independence, dignity of this unbreakable people, of this rebellious people, of this free people. But we also swear on the innocence of President Nicolás Maduro, the innocence of our Deputy Celia Flores, that we will fight tirelessly to rescue them and rescue the homeland, which is to return the rights of our people. To be free is to standing strong, to guarantee the peace of the Republic, the national unity of all Venezuelans, but always with dignity, always with sovereignty. We swear to fulfill with our Constitution, we swear to fulfill our sacred commitment to fight next to our people, to continue being the Bolivarian homeland, free, great, beautiful and prosperous. President, we swear this. We swear to fulfill with our Constitution, we swear to fulfill with our people and with our homeland.
If you do so, let God, the homeland, and providence, and our people, heroic people, reward you, dear Pedro. And if not, let them demand you. You are now first Vice President of the National Assembly of Venezuela. We've seen the first Vice President, Pedro Infante, being sworn in. He has assumed the commitment to this new period and also his commitment to demand and bring back the legitimate authorities of Venezuela. President Nicolás Maduro. Now they're calling on Grecia Colmenares for the swearing-in process. Do you swear, Grecia, in the name of God Almighty? Do you swear on the homeland and your honor? Do you swear for the youth of Venezuela? Do you swear for the example of the liberators of America? Do you swear for the great life that we will give to our sons and daughters and granddaughters as well, to abide by the Constitution of Venezuela? Do you swear to respect and make the laws be respected of the Republic? Do you swear to abide by and organize to the duties that are demanded of the Bolivarian National Assembly of Venezuela? Do you swear to defend our seas and rivers and to defend this people of women and men who are free and in national unity, will guide us to a splendorous future that we deserve and that will allow us to overcome the darkness of these times? Do you swear it? I swear on God Almighty and the spirit of our peoples and natives peoples, in the face of the sacred fire that was lit by our liberators and today continues to shine. I swear on the light that was brought upon us by Commander Chagas that will never be turned off, and I swear as women and as part of Venezuelan youth that we will defend our constitution, that we will defend our laws, we will defend every corner, every point, every corner of our territory. Venezuela will be respected. I swear that we will do anything that is necessary for peace, for the dignity of a people. I swear that the people organized, the Venezuelan people in great unity, will give all the great steps in order for us to bring back the bravest of the brave, the President Nicolás Maduro Moros, and our first combatant and colleague lawmaker Cilia Flores. Today, more than ever, united in the conviction of the future that we deserve as Venezuelans, I swear for the dreams, for the future, for the shared destiny that we deserve, brave Venezuelans, that we will leave in our action all the necessary efforts so that Venezuela continues to be our territory, a territory of the brave, of the heroes, territory where God is looking at with blessings permanently. Long live Venezuela, and we swear that it will live forever. Grecia. Let God, if you do so, God, the homeland and the people, the young people of Venezuela that sees themselves reflected in your words, reward you and not let them demand it from you. You are now second Vice President of the National Assembly of Venezuela.
Bien, ha sido juramentada la segunda vicepresidenta de la Asamblea Nacional, Grecia.
With the ceremony, we saw the first and second vice presidents of the National Assembly be sworn in by the recently sworn in president of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, for the next legislative year 2026-2027, and take on this important role to establish for strengthening the laws of the country. And amidst this moment, this installation of the National Assembly in Venezuela, representing the strength and the governability that remains strong within the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. We also have information about President Nicolás Maduro and first combatant Cilia Flores made their first statement in a New York court after they were kidnapped amidst the illegal criminal massive U.S. military aggression against Venezuela. The first statements of President Nicolás Maduro were clear, and I quote, "I am the President of Venezuela and I consider myself a prisoner of war. I was captured at my home in Caracas. I'm not guilty. I'm a decent man. I'm still the president of my country." Close quote. Let's continue with the National Assembly.
Elected as Secretary of the National Assembly, and citizen José Omar Molina Palencia, in order to be sworn in as Subsecretary of the National Assembly.
Of the National Assembly. First was sworn in the President of the National Assembly by the Directors of Debates. The President of the National Assembly proceeds to swear in the two Vice Presidents, and now they are swearing in the Secretaries.
and citizen José Omar Molina Palencia, do you swear in the name of God Almighty, do you swear for the immortal spirit of the liberator of America, father of the homeland of the great Latin America, Simón Bolívar? Do you swear for peace and for life, for our daughters and sons and the youth of Venezuela, not to rest until you fulfill the duties that you have been committed to as Secretary and Subsecretary of the National Assembly of Venezuela, mainly in the irrestricted respect to our constitutions, our laws and rules of the Republic? Do you swear to insist in the defense of our sacred territory and the defense of this Parliament, so that it is the space for fructiferous debate, the dialogue, and the confrontation of ideas? Do you swear it? Yes, we do. If like this you do it, let Homeland God, our sons and daughters, reward you for it, and if not, let them demand it from you. You are now Secretary and Subsecretary of the Bolivarian National Assembly of Venezuela. Please go to your seat of work.
So with this swearing ceremony, the full Director of Boards of the National Assembly for the year 2026-2027 has been sworn in, and we can say that the installation has been completed.
Inform you that my job has concluded. Thank you for this opportunity.
We're saying the installation has been completed. The acting secretary, before the swearing-in of the secretaries that will take office for the 2026-2027 term, now we heard task fulfilled, returns to the plenary.
Commander, fighter of 1,000 battles, the man of ideas and actions, he who has always maintained righteousness, decency, honesty as great elements of his life. The youngest lawmaker within us, Fernando Sora Rojas, who today has been Director of Debate. We also thank our young lawmaker, Carolina García Carreño, who in a great way directed the process as acting secretary. Dear Secretary, how are you? Are you already in charge of your last period? Secretary. Second point. President, we are now going to take the swearing in of the deputies of this new assembly this president. Please, lawmakers, stand up. Honorable lawmakers of this National Assembly of the Republic of Venezuela, in the face of the people, the men and women of our great territory that at this moment are looking at the installation, inauguration of our National Assembly as should happen every January 5th at 11 a.m. after the elections of the parliamentarians on the national list, parliamentarians on regional lists,
por circunscripciones
and lawmakers
nominales.
for specific circumscriptions.
Al ejemplo inmortal del libertador de
On
América,
the
Simón
immortal
Bolívar,
example of the
¿juran
liberator
ustedes
Simón Bolívar, do you
cumplir
swear
y hacer cumplir la
to abide by
Constitución y
and
las leyes de la República?
ensure
¿Juran
the
ustedes
laws of the Republic?
cumplir
Do you
con
swear
las funciones contraloras
to
de la
abide by
Asamblea
the
Nacional de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela
of the National Assembly of Venezuela
responsabilidades
and other
que le asigna
responsibilities
la Constitución,
that are assigned by the
especialmente en lo
Constitution,
referente
especially
al control y selección de
in
los
what has
otros
to do with the
órganos del
control
poder
and selection
público
of
venezolano?
other orders
¿Juran ustedes cumplir
of the
y hacer
Venezuelan
cumplir
power? Do you
las
swear
leyes y
to abide by
reglamentos
and
de la
enforce
República,
the
así como
laws
ser
of the
celosos
Republic
garantes
and
de la
also
institucionalidad
to
democrática de
ensure
Venezuela?
the
¿Juran proteger
democratic
el sagrado
institutionality of
territorio de
Venezuela? Do you
nuestra
swear
patria,
to protect
sus
the
cielos
sacred
sagrados,
territory
sus
of
mares
Venezuela,
y ríos?
its skies,
¿Lo juran?
rivers, and seas? Do you swear it?
Si
Yes,
así
we
lo
swear.
hicieren, que Dios y la
If like
patria
this you do this,
os lo premie.
let God and the homeland reward you, and
Todos lo
if not,
demandan.
let
Quedan
them demand
formalmente
it.
investidos e investidos
You are formally
como diputadas
now
y diputados
deputies
de la Asamblea
of the
Nacional para el periodo
National Assembly for the period
al año
2026
hasta el año 2030.
2030.
Pueden tomar asiento, diputadas y diputados.
You can sit down now.
Bien, como parte de esta jornada
Well, with
legislativa
this swearing ceremony, it's been official the installation of the National Assembly of all its deputies, elected deputies, for the 5-year term 2026-2031, and also the inauguration of the Directors Board of the National Assembly for the first year of this 5-year term. And with this ceremony comes to a close. We recall that that Jorge Rodriguez was re-elected President of the National Assembly, and Pedro Infantes, the first Vice President, and Glesia as the second Vice President, who are going to be presiding over the National Assembly for the next year, as we were saying, term 2026-2027. Let's listen now to the statements of Jorge Rodriguez.
Lawmakers who have been sworn in for this National Assembly of Venezuela, those who make our laws, our rules, and control our democratic institutionality of the Republic, independently of the ballot in which we have been elected as lawmakers, independently of our own condition, of our beliefs or religions, of the development of our own personal history. These are times in which we are calling upon all of you to national unity, for the respect of what is ours, for the Venezuelan life, of Venezuelan identity, of what gave the freedom to this American continent. These are times in which we need to strengthen what we are. These are times in which we need to strengthen in our deepest values, the values that were inherited to us by the liberators and founders of the fatherland. We need to guarantee the will of this people of 30 million people. We need to guarantee those dreams, those expectations, and their needs and dreams of a life and peace. We need to guarantee our prosperity, the prosperity we need to build together. And even though we can think differently one from the other, I can say from the deepest bottom of my heart that at least me, Jorge Jesus Rodriguez, as a lawmaker, as a man of this homeland, as father of my 4 sons and daughters, as a person that loves deeply this sacred land, that my main role
días por venir,
in the coming days,
función como hombre, como
my
diputado,
role as a man, as a deputy, as president of this National Assembly,
recurrir
will
a
be
todos
to
los procedimientos,
go to
a
all
todas las tribunas,
all forums, all procedures
para lograr traer de vuelta a
in
Nicolás
order
Maduro
to
Moros, mi
achieve
hermano.
the safe return of my president, my brother, Nicolás Maduro Moros.
Que los esfuerzos
Let the efforts
desde nuestras propias capacidades,
from our own
que
capacities,
los esfuerzos
that the efforts
desde nuestro deseo
from our deepest
que
desires
nuestra patria crezca
is that our
y
homeland
prospere,
grows
no
and be
deben
prosperous.
detenerse, incluso
Those desires should
con el
not
mayor
be
de los
stopped
obstáculos.
even through the hardest of
Más allá de los
obstacles,
obstáculos,
even
falta una
beyond
diputada
those
en este
obstacles. There's a lawmaker missing
allá de los
from this
obstáculos,
parliament.
hay una curul allí
There's
que
a seat
corresponde
there
a mi hermana
that
Cilia
belongs to
Flores
my
de
sister Cilia Flores de Maduro.
Buscamos y conseguimos
And while we
recuperar a
search
Cilia,
and we
que en su espacio,
achieve
en su curul,
the safe return of Cilia for that seat,
nos recuerde de forma permanente.
let a red rose remember her permanently, because
Estamos en deuda
we
con su valentía,
owe her,
que
we
estamos
owe
en
her
deuda con su
bravery,
entereza,
we owe her
que esa
righteousness,
deuda solo será saldada
and that debt
en la
will
día y hora
always
justa
only be
en que la
paid
tengamos aquí,
when
junto a
she
todas nosotras,
returns and
junto a
she is
todos
here
nosotros.
with all of us.
Escuché la voz de algunos diputados
I
en el
heard the
derecho de
voice
palabra para
of
presentar
some of the
las
deputies
candidaturas a la Junta Directiva
in
de la
their moment
Asamblea
to speak
Nacional.
when they were presenting their
De uno.
proposals.
A las voces de algunos diputados de oposición, pero sobre
In
todo
the
me
voices
uno
of some
a la voz
of
de
the
todo el pueblo de Venezuela
deputies of the
que
opposition,
rinde
I
homenaje
unite
a
myself
nuestros héroes
with them
caídos el
who
pasado
were
7 de enero.
honoring those heroes that were killed
Un
at that
aplauso de vida.
great,
Pido un aplauso de
terrible
homenaje.
attack. I ask for an
Que las
applause,
lágrimas se conviertan
a-
en fuerza.
an homage,
Que las lágrimas
that
se
tears
conviertan en
become
entereza.
strength,
Que las lágrimas se conviertan
that
en
tears
certezas
become
de
certainty,
que lograremos construir la
that
paz.
we will manage to build.
Nunca
Never,
Nunca
never
hemos buscado la guerra.
have we sought war. Never.
De este territorio sagrado,
From this sacred land,
jamás. Yo no sé qué otro país
I
de
don't know
planeta
what other country in the world can say
nuestra maravillosa condición.
that and have
Pero
that
de este
condition.
territorio sagrado,
But from this
jamás
sacred
ha
land,
salido un soldado,
never has a soldier come out.
tropa alguna,
Never
ha iniciado
any
una
troop has
incursión
started
para
any
conquistar ningún otro
incursion
territorio,
to
para subyugar
conquer
a
any
otro
other
territorio.
territory, to subjugate any other territory. On the contrary, from this sacred land,
Salieron nuestros llaneros descalzos. De este territorio sagrado
our armies,
salieron nuestras patriotas,
our
nuestros patriotas y nuestros patriotas.
patriots,
Y de la mano gigantesca del pequeño cuerpo de capitán
went
valiente
with
de
the
Simón
great
José
hand
Antonio
of
Bolívar
José
Palacios y Blanco, nació la libertad
Antonio
de todo el
Bolívar,
continente americano.
went out in order to give birth to the freedom of the entire continent.
Por el contrario,
On the contrary, we are lovers and defenders of peace. And if peace is threatened as it is, our role in unity, lawmakers, is the consolidation of that peace, but not the peace of the graveyards, not the peace of those who are kneeling down, not the peace of those who silence. It needs to be the peace, the only peace that Venezuelans know, the peace of freedom, the peace of life, the peace of hope, and the peace with which we take care of our sacred land. From here, from the National Assembly, we summon you, we call on you, the entire people of Venezuela, the political parties of the opposition that are here in this National Assembly, to call on you for dialogue and exchange. This is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of greatness. Let us not go past the opportunity of building proposals together. Let us not let the opportunity pass. Even if we think differently, even if we are different, let us be able to find each other and come together in the days to come and be stronger, be clearer in our thought. That means to have more audacity. Let us not leave this opportunity by to a true dialogue in all circumstances. This is the space for debate, the National Assembly, but we also have a people that is demanding to be listened to. There's a people that wants to participate in that debate. Let us not leave the people outside the walls of this parliament. Let's insist. We can reach agreements on fundamental topics of life of the Republic. With my respects, deputies and lawmakers. I beg your pardon for my temper. I will not accept any shows in my National Assembly, in this National Assembly. Shows need to go to the circus, and this parliament needs to be respected, and I will not allow the different ways of voicing political confrontations. These are times in which we need to come together with decency, so you can count with the decency and the respect of the board and our majority bank. And if at any point you think that this is not being done, these words with which I'm committing myself, please come here to say, and we will correct this. These are times in which we need to find ourselves and come together, because anything that comes from the outside will always be worse. Because the terrible days that we have just lived show what we have said before and what we said when they started applying sanctions, and they asked for these sanctions to be applied, and those were the same ones who asked for guns to be used upon Venezuela, and I have proof for that. Bombs do not fall only in the heads of Chavisms.
Los cuerpos
The
jóvenes solo
wounds do not just go through the bodies of Chavist militants.
si un venezolano
And
muere por
independently,
la violencia
if a Venezuelan
extranjera
dies at hands of foreign violence,
de ese venezolano
the cry of that mother, of that Venezuelan, that will bring us together.
llanto de la hija
The cry of that wife, of that daughter, of that son.
es una vulgaridad preguntar ¿y en qué
It's
bando
vulgar to
y por quién voto?
ask what side we are on and who
Venezolanos
voted
son venezolanos
and who they voted for. They are Venezuelans. They are
y
heroes.
tenemos que hacer todo lo que podamos
And we need to
para
do
dar su ejemplo,
anything within our
levantar nuestra
reach
acción y que nunca más vuelva
to show their example and that action and let this never happen again.
venezolanas y venezolanos.
Venezuelans,
Si hemos fallado
if we have failed
en el ejercicio de nuestras funciones,
in the
pedimos disculpas.
exercise of our
Seguramente habremos
functions,
fallado en
we beg
aspectos
forgiveness.
donde
We
no
have
debimos haber
most
fallado.
definitely failed in some aspects, but we commit
A estar
ourselves
atentos de nuestros errores
to be
y a
aware
corregir
of
el
our
rumbo en lo que sea
mistakes
necesario.
and correct what needs to be
Nos
corrected.
comprometemos
We
a
commit
buscar más a
ourselves
nuestro pueblo.
to
Nos
go find
comprometemos
our people even
a
more,
identificarnos con su dolor,
to
con su expectativa,
identify
con su esperanza,
their grievances and their
Nos comprometemos
expectations and their
a
hopes.
callarnos la boca
We commit
para escucharlos
ourselves
más,
to
para escuchar el llanto
stop
de la madre,
talking
pero
in
también
order to
la
listen to
sonrisa
them
de nuestras
more.
niñas y
The
nuestros niños,
cry of that mother,
para
but
escuchar el
also the
clamor de
laughter
nuestros
of our
trabajadores,
children
de nuestras
and the
trabajadoras,
cries of our
para saber qué es lo que
workers,
está pensando nuestra
to
juventud,
know what our
muchas
youth is
veces
thinking about.
nosotros, que ya llegamos
And
a la
sometimes
juventud más tardía, que ha
many
puesto
of
a
us
nuestro
who are
primer vicepresidente a llamarnos
reaching
pures,
the highest and elder
obliga
years,
incluso a aprender otro idioma.
we need to even learn a new language because language is not the same
Resulta que los
anymore.
jóvenes hablan con
The
códigos
young
distintos,
people have new codes
con códigos neoconstruidos
with
que nos
codes
obligan a usar el
that have
oído
been rebuilt,
y
and we
poder
need to
escucharlo, porque el futuro
tune
es de ellos,
into that
el futuro ya no es
in
nuestro.
order to listen to them because the future, it belongs to them. The future belongs to the
Como hay gestos
young people,
que trascienden
and that
la
is
historia
why,
del tiempo.
such as there are gestures that
Así
transcend
como
time,
la historia me absolverá,
as the
así
history
como
will
hubo
absolve us,
por ahora,
absolve me exists,
así como hubo
and
pelea,
as
lucha,
for now
batalla
existed as
y
well,
victoria. Aquí
and
les pido a
struggle,
ustedes
battle, and victory existed.
que hoy
I
atraviesa cada rincón
bid you farewell
de este
with
planeta.
this gesture.
Unidos
At this
venceremos.
moment, united, we will win.
Bien, eran las
Gracias,
palabras.
diputadas y diputados.
Bien, eran las palabras del doctor Jorge Rodríguez, presidente del Parlamento venezolano,
who
ante esta primera
addressed the
intervención del
importance of the
Parlamento
unity for the National Assembly for the political life of Venezuela right now to face the challenges that are arising, the challenges that they must be overcome right now, and the only way to do so is through the unity and the commitment of the entire Venezuelan society in all different sectors to continue to defend and respect the Constitution of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, with a clear message of unity, as we were saying, all united in defense of peace of the Venezuelan Republic. And with this is completed the full event for the installation of the National Assembly for the term, the 5-year term 2026-2031, and also the swearing of the Directors Board is also completed. The legislative process for the next year, year 2026-2027. We must recall that the deputies are elected for 5 years and the director boards for a year.
el diputado Timoteo Zambrano, el
Teo
diputado
Zambrano,
Stalin González,
Stalin
el
González,
diputado José Brito,
José
el
Brito,
diputado Antonio Ecarri,
Antonio
y el
Ecarri,
diputado Bernabé Gutiérrez.
Bernabé Gutiérrez.
Para notificar la instalación de esta
In order to
Asamblea
notify
Nacional del
the
Poder Judicial,
inauguration of this
comisionamos
National
a los
Assembly,
diputados Pedro
we
Carreño,
call
María
on
Elena Vega,
Pedro Carreño,
diputada
María Elena
Carolina
Vega,
García, la
Carolina
diputada
Vega,
Rosa León,
Rosa
el
León,
diputado Jorge Arreaza, el
Jorge
diputado
Arreaza,
Luis Parra,
Luis
y mi
Parra,
contendiente, el diputado Rubén Lima, mi
and
contendiente y
Ruben
colega.
Lima, my rival and colleague.
Para notificar al Poder Electoral, se
To
comisiona
notify
al
the
diputado
electoral
José
power,
Villarroel, al
we
diputado
command
Melvin Maldonado,
Melvin
a la
Maldonado,
diputada Gloria Castillo,
Deputy
a la
Gloria
diputada
Castillo,
Jacqueline Faría, a la diputada vicepresidenta Grecia
Deputy
Colmenares,
Vice President Grecia Colmenares.
vicepresidenta va para el Poder Ejecutivo. Vamos a sustituirlo con otro diputado.
We
Al
will
diputado Juan
substitute
Carlos
that
Alvarado y al
for
diputado
another
José
one
Gregorio Correa.
due to the vice presidency charge,
Para notificar al Poder
and
Moral,
also to notify
están comisionados y comisionadas el diputado Giuseppe
we
Alessandro,
command
el diputado
Giuseppe Alessandro
Wilmar
Bello,
Castro Soteldo,
Wilman
el
Soteldo,
diputado Jason Guzmán,
Jason
la
Guzmán,
diputada Kenny Paola García,
Kenny
el
Paola
diputado
García,
Alfonso Campos, y el
Alfonso
diputado
Campos,
Luis Augusto Romero.
and Luis Augusto Romero.
Quería invitarlos
I
a tres
wanted
invitaciones
to
que hacerle antes de que la
make an
secretaria
invitation
nos conmine a culminar la sesión.
before we end this session.
Es que,
The first one,
como ocurre cada vez que se instala
the,
la nueva legislatura,
just as
cada 5
it
años,
is done every
invitamos a
time
todas las
that the
diputadas
National
y
Assembly
diputados
is
a
inaugurated
dirigirse a la
every 5
escalinata donde
years,
se encuentra el busto del
we
Padre de la
invite you
Patria
to head to
para
the
tomar
stairs
la
where you
foto
have
oficial
the
de la
bust of
Asamblea
the
Nacional de la
Father of the
República
Homeland in
Bolivariana
order
de
to take
Venezuela.
the official picture
En
of the
segundo lugar,
National Assembly of
informarles que
Venezuela.
mañana hay sesión a las 2:30
Also
de
to
la
inform
tarde,
you that we'll have
martes
session
a las
tomorrow,
2:30 de la tarde, como es rigor.
Tuesday
Esperemos
at 2:30
que en
p.m.
esta
as
nueva
always.
legislatura
We hope
fresca,
that in this new
los
parliament,
diputados y
so
diputadas
fresh,
resulten ser puntuales.
that
Ojalá
the
Dios
deputies and
nos escuche
lawmakers
y nos
will
cubra
be
con el
on
manto de la
time.
puntualidad.
I hope that God hears
tercer
us
lugar,
and blesses
la
us
Junta
with
Directiva de la Asamblea
punctuality.
Nacional, con invitados especiales,
And with special
el
guests
día de hoy,
on
en
the,
el llamado
today,
Salón Tríptico de la Asamblea
we'll go
Nacional,
to the
va a
Triptychal
proceder,
Salon.
visto el mandato
We'll
ejercido
proceed
por la Sala Constitucional del Tribunal Supremo de
with
Justicia
the
y cumpliendo con los
mandate
preceptos
of the
constitucionales,
Constitutional
va a
Chamber of the
proceder
Supreme
a
Court.
someter a juramento de ley
Will
a
swear
la
in
presidenta encargada de la
acting
República,
President,
abogada Delcy
lawyer
Eloína
Delcy Rodríguez,
Gómez, en este mismo
in
momento.
this moment.
Siguiente, ciudadana secretaria.
Agotada la materia de la sesión de instalación, ciudadano presidente.
We've closed
En
the
consecuencia,
inauguration.
se levanta la sesión, quedan todas y todos
The
convocados
session has
para
been
mañana,
closed.
martes
Tomorrow,
6 de enero, a
Tuesday,
las 2:30 de la tarde.
2:30 p.m. You are summoned.
Now the installation of the National Assembly for the next 5-year term of the legislative period has been completed. The directors has been sworn in. All the deputies elected in last year's legislative elections were sworn in as well, and the President of the National Assembly gave his opening speech, giving a clear message that the National Assembly these next 5 years must work to continue strengthening and preserve the unity and to bring closer the people of Venezuela, and to make the people of Venezuela more participative in the whole process, and to listen more, to continue preserving the sovereignty and protect the dignity of the Bolivarian Republic. As well, of course, they made clear that one of the main goals, one of the first objectives of this National Assembly, the President himself said that they would use all the necessary spaces, all the necessary mechanisms to ensure the safe return of President Nicolas Maduro and first combatant Celia Flores, who are currently kidnapped in the United States. And this topic regarding the kidnapping of the President of the Bolivarian Republic and the first combatant, the President Nicolas Maduro, they already made his first statements in front of a court in New York, where he said the following, and I quote, "I am President of Venezuela and I consider myself a prisoner of war. I was captured at my home in Caracas. I am not guilty. I am a decent man and I am still the president of my country." I close quote. These were the first statements of President Nicolas Maduro in front of that court in New York, where he declares himself innocent and continue committed with the project of the Bolivarian Revolution and to protect his innocence and to deny all charges that are being made on, of course, denounce the illegality of the event that occurred in the early hours of Saturday, something that has also been denounced and condemned by the newly installed National Assembly. We're going to continue with more updates coming up in upcoming news briefs, so stay tuned with Teresa English to have the latest information regarding all the different topics and the current events happening in Venezuela.